Hello, welcome to Paint by Blunders. Today we're looking at an airbrush from Galeri. Now I did a video a few months back on the Galeri Mobius 0.2, which I have right here. Still one of my go-to airbrushes. I love it, I use it all the time, very fine detail. This is sort of your scalpel of airbrushing. And as I said before, there are different needle sizes and different types of things that you can achieve with different airbrushes. If I'm honest, all of them do what you want them to do. It's just how easy it is to achieve that without encountering problems. Now by problems, I mean when it clogs, when you get dry tip and airbrushing becomes the biggest nightmare in the world. I feel your pain, I have been there. Now, let's get to it. So opening this up, you get the detailed cross-section map of everything that's in your airbrush in case anything ever goes wrong. You get the two fluid reservoirs, one smaller and one larger, depending on what your use case is. You get the additional needle and nozzle, some spare O-rings and seals, some lube, and also a quick release valve. Very handy. Pull back the trigger a little bit of the way and that will start releasing air, but no paint will come out. And you can sort of feel it does have you can really feel where that stops before, if you pull any further, the needle will go back and paint will start atomizing into the air. This comes in a 0.35, which is in my opinion, 0.3 is the perfect size for jack of all trades. But it also comes with an additional needle, which is 0.5, which I think is absolutely perfect for priming and for terrain. A little bit wider spread. It's a little bit more forgiving with your paint ratios because it's got that thicker needle, so you've got less chance of getting dry tip, and it just sprays effortlessly. So when I'm shooting primer, a lot of primers say you don't need to thin them, they're good to go. Ignore that, always add a little bit of thinner. I always use airbrush medium because it has flow improver and thinner basically in one, and I find it almost idiot proof for me. Now with the airbrush loaded up, let's just do a few test lines just to sort of show you the spray pattern. And all I've done is just do a few pencil lines. And the first line, I'm just getting a little gauge for trying to do some detail. Second line down, a little bit closer, a little bit more controlled in the air. This would be sort of your fine detail work. Now I'm going to start adding more air and pulling further back as I go. And you can really see how you can get detail and then really spread that out for sort of your OSL, your priming and all that sort of thing. But in the same breath, you can do lovely little neat work. It looks like the old little, the Men in Black. Is it the noisy cricket? It reminds me of that, especially because I normally take the back off these things. Just for cleaning purposes, it just makes it slightly easier. Now for me, if that comes up nicely on the camera,
noisy cricket.
And like the noisy cricket, very small, very mighty. So priming wise, I started a little bit cautious, a little short, sharp bursts, just to see if I could get in all the nooks and crannies. And it handled it beautifully, it was absolutely fine. One tip I would give anyone if they're new to airbrushing, primer loves to dry on the tip of the needle. I would always have just a wet brush to hand and then, every 30 seconds or so, just give it a zhuzh around the end of the needle. I personally prefer these airbrushes for most of my basing, priming, zenithal stuff. I just find it much more comfortable, and the way they are now, they're not what they used to be. The tech in these now, they're just as good in my opinion. There's no one that's better than the other, it's just literally whatever you prefer. I just happen to prefer these. I still use the other one, but these are what I prefer. Now I have a couple of these anyway. Galeri sent me this one to try. This I would say is the sort of entry priced version of the gun, and it works so well. Compared to the more expensive version I've got of this, it is literally just the little mechanical bits that are slightly more premium. This still absolutely handles all of the needs I needed it to do effortlessly. So here's a little exercise if you're new to airbrushing. Draw some shapes on a piece of paper and then just practice trying to line up the airbrush and trace those shapes as accurately as you can. This will just help you get used to where your airbrush is going to start shooting paint before you get near the model. And as you will see in this video where I had to put the 0.5 in this, a little sneak peek at a project I've got coming up where I have to put down a lot of primer to cover the beast. Really fun project. Look out for that video, it's coming out, because as much as I always say, this is a community and I love it, it's going to involve the community to get it over the finish line and get it looking how we want it to look. So look out for that video. So onto our sort of Xenophore highlight. Back with the 50-50-ish mix into a plastic shot glass. These are fantastic for just seeing if your paint is a roughly right consistency, and they're fairly cheap. Now this shot out beautifully, showing all those lovely highlights on this Space Wolf model. And same as last time, every 30 seconds or so I would just get a damp brush and just give the end of the needle a little tickle. So Galeri are running a discount for most of July on Amazon and on their website. Now in the description there is a discount code if you choose to use it, which gives me a little bit of kickback as well if you want to check out any of their products. If you're new to airbrushing, this is the perfect time in my opinion to sort of get into it. There's some great deals so you don't have to break the bank. Also isn't the greatest amount of money to invest in potentially something that will save you time and money in the future and make your hobby time easier and more efficient, because two things we never have enough of is time and money. So one of the other lovely things that I love spraying, and a lot of people like spraying out of these airbrushes, is white ink. Now white ink is just much better than most of the white paints that are out when you're really trying to push those highlights for volumes. And I must say this airbrush absolutely excelled at it. And as the sort of entry-level airbrush, I think this sort of sits at around 50-60 quid or $50-60. It's so robust and just flew through this and was so comfortable. I love a pistol grip airbrush. Now if there's anything you'd like to see me review in the future, please do leave it in the comments below and I will see if I can get hold of it and review it and put it through its paces for you, so you can make an informed decision before spending your hobby money on it. And the reason why I always prime miniatures and I always show basing miniatures or the odd bit of Xenophore with these sorts of things is because the paint you use to prime is thicker, it's stickier, it is designed to adhere to, you know, raw plastic or resin, etc., bind to it, cure, and hopefully not come off, not without some serious elbow grease. Whereas acrylics, yes, acrylics are very hard, but you know, they're not as tough as sort of our primers. So that's why I always like using them for priming. And if anyone asks, why is he always just priming in them? Because that is the thick, gloopy stuff that, you know, takes a little bit more thinning half the time to really see what these things can do. So this is where I switched to the 0.5 to do the beast, and it just started hacking through it. It was fantastic. Yes, I could have just used a rattle can and gone outside, but that's not always the case, and I do prefer the finish on airbrush priming. Thank you very much for checking out the video, and I hope this short little video helps you decide whether this style of airbrush is for you or isn't for you. And that is the whole purpose of this. Not everything works for everyone, and everyone uses different methods and different means to achieve the artistic goal when it comes to this hobby. Now, if you're new to these parts, do please consider subscribing, commenting, liking, sharing, because it is so appreciated and it really does help the channel grow. Now, hopefully I will see you in the next one.